Jo, thank you for joining us today at Google Play. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your book?
My name is Jo Nesbo. I've been a writer since 1997. I started writing the series that I'm still writing about a guy called Harry Hole, a Norwegian police detective who works in homicide in Oslo. And as you all know, people get murdered all the time in Oslo. So he's a busy guy. And by now he has probably investigated about 20 murders. In my latest book, Phantom, he is coming back to Oslo. He's been away for 3 years. He was both physically and mentally traumatized, so he had to sort of flee the country and leave behind his the love of his life, Rakel, who is a single mother. And he's been away for 3 years. He's coming back to Oslo. He's wandering the streets of Oslo. Oslo, who is in many ways are this, innocent village in the outskirts of Europe, isn't that innocent any longer. International crime has arrived in the city, as it has in real life during the past 15 years. You see prostitution, human trafficking, and first of all, a very busy drug market. Oslo has actually been one of the worst drug cities in Europe since the 70s, when heroin was introduced in Oslo. And Harry, he checks into a small hotel, and the next day he walks to the police house and he meets with his old boss, and he wants to have his old job as police detective back because he wants to investigate a small murder. It's a young drug addict who has killed another young drug addict, seemingly over drugs. It's not the kind of murder that gets the headlines in the papers. They have found the guilty guy, who's a young boy of 19. The evidences are overwhelming, and so the case is closed. But he still insists that he wants to meet with this boy, and he is allowed to do so. So he walks over to the prison, which is the neighbor to the police house in Oslo, and there he meets this young guy of 19, and it's a very emotional meeting because this boy is the son of Rakel, the single mother, and his name is Oleg, and he has sort of grown up with Harry. I guess the tagline would be, "This time it's personal." He is going to try to prove that Oleg is innocent, although I don't think even Harry thinks he actually is innocent.
Harry's a very magnetic character. He has a very strong moral code, but he also has a lot of things that make him human and that make him struggle. And do you think that's part of the reason why readers have gravitated to him so much and are kind of raising him up as such a galvanizing sort of hero? I mean, is it the two sides of him?
As a storyteller, it's not like I have a technique that will make you like him. I'm on the contrary, I'm often surprised that people actually do like him. And for example, Harry is very popular with women for some reason, and I was really surprised because in the first novel, one of the first things I made him do was to pay to have sex with a prostitute. And I think that would be one of the biggest turn-off for female readers. But I guess he's the kind of guy that you love to forgive him for his sins, because he's like you said, he does have a moral code, and he will fail time after time. Because he's the kind of guy that tries to get back on the horse, and whatever he didn't get right today, he will try to get right tomorrow. Seems like readers, they sort of recognize something in themselves when they read about Harry. I think maybe that's the reason. I haven't really tried to make him a hero. and not even an the traditional anti-hero.
Right.
He's just in many ways a normal guy trying to live his life, and he has a couple of addictions. He's addicted to alcohol. He's not the cool hard drinking detective. He's more of a full-blown alcoholic who so alcohol is his kryptonite. When he starts drinking, he can't work, and he's also addicted to his job. He doesn't have much in his life beside his job. He doesn't find much pleasure in socializing with other people. So I think his job is kind of a surrogate for being with people. And I think the reason why he doesn't like to bond with people is that his experience in life is that whenever he loves somebody, they will be taken away from him. That was his experience as a young boy when his mother died, and also his first girlfriend committed suicide when he was really young, and also his closest colleagues have been killed on duty. So I think that is that is his experience. His love is like a vampire bite.
And I think that one of the things that that I love the most about this series is that you are able to go into these very dark, grim moments of experience of crime, of violence, but also some very dark sort of moments of redemption or realizing, the sort of self-awareness that Harry has moments like that. And I'm just curious, I guess I wanted to ask you how you approach those moments as a writer. I mean, obviously you have a plot and sort of a rich approach to character that helps set the stage for those moments to happen, to really reach out and grab the reader. But I find they're incredibly gripping to read, and I think about how do you get there? How do they get on the page? Like, what kind of preparation do you do to look at those things in the face?
I think that those moments that you're talking about, you can't plan them. I think they. I don't believe in inspiration as a solid basis for writing novels. It takes too much time to write a novel only based on that inspirational moments. So you have to have a plan, and I work a lot on plotting. So when I start writing a story, I always have the feeling that the story is already there. It's not like I'm going to create a story. I'm going to retell a story. It gives me the confidence to sort of tell my readers to come sit closer, because I have this great story to tell you and I know exactly how it goes. But the things that I don't know exactly how it goes, those are probably the moments that you're talking about. When you're getting there and you are feeling what your characters are feeling, which is sort of an aggregation, a sum of everything that has happened. And when you're planning the story, you don't know that feeling. You can't plan how you are going to feel on page 230. So when you get there, you just have to go with your instinct, and that is so. I think that some of the best moments and the things I've written that I'm most happy with and most pleased with, I didn't plan. They just happened. Like in the Redbreast, I have a scene that to me still is touching because I know the characters, but that is when his closest colleague, Ellen Yelton, dies, and she is probably the only person that he is talking with every day, and he's sharing his feelings and his inner secrets with. She is taken away, she has died, but he keeps on calling her phone and gets the answering machine, and so he will leave messages for no one just on that answering machine, like he's talking to himself and he's imagining that she is still there. And you can't plan things like that. That is just an idea that comes along, and you know that it's exactly right.
I'm glad that you mentioned The Red Breast, because that's one of my favorite books in the series, and it's a title that I really love. And you know, looking at all your books together, and it's something I kind of geek out on as a reader sometimes, is how do authors pick their titles and how do they come together, particularly in a series. And I think that, you know, you have some of your earlier books, you know, the bat, you know, the cockroaches, and you have The Red Breast and the leopard, the snowman. You have these sort of totemic sort of titles, and I think about, I'm always intrigued to see how is this going to come into play in the story, because is it, you know, what spirit of the story is coming through in Phantom, or, you know, so do you think about your titles that way? Are they kind of the spirit animal of your book, or how do they come together for you?
I think titles are difficult, and especially in English, because many of the titles, they are not directly translated from Norwegian, because some of the titles in Norwegian are, well, hard to translate, or they don't sound right in English. So I will wait until the end of the book, and then I will come up with a title. It's a theme that is going to be one word, and often I will use animals as at least part of the word. The only book that actually started with a title is The Snowman, and that was because with some friends of mine, they were working on the movie, and they had a working title called Cold Prey, which in the end became the title for the movie, which was hugely successful. But anyway, they called me during a brainstorming session because they needed a title, and this was about some young people going to the mountain skiing. One of them would break a leg. They would break into a deserted ski resort, and then they would start getting killed one by one, a typical horror movie. And I said that, okay, sounds like The Snowman should be a perfect title. And they said that, well, maybe so, but there's no snowman in the story. So, and I said, actually, I think the title is so brilliant, you should consider having a snowman in the story. But then I started thinking about that title. You know, and it's something about a title that something that sounds innocent and almost cozy, like a, you know, fond childhood memory. And when you put it on the cover of a book, and it says crime story, you know, it's going to be about something completely different. So that was just, you know, the whole idea for the book started with the title.
I have one last question for you, and it's on something you just mentioned about titles and in translation. I mean, your work is popular, you know, here in Canada and all across the world. I mean, how do you approach the project of translating a story across so many languages? I mean, what's your role in that? And
I actually don't have a role in that. I mean, I do speak English, a little German, and a tiny little bit of French, but even with the English translation, I don't get into that. Because things will get lost in translation. It's inevitable. Don Bartlett, who is a great translator, he is a man that I trust to solve those problems. But even with Don, things must be changed, and things can't be translated. So instead of, you know, having the frustration of seeing things sink and get lost, I'll just stay away from it and just trust him. I mean, he's doing his job. I guess he would hate to have somebody look over his shoulders to when he's working, same as I would. So I just leave them to it and hope for the best, actually.
Well, they're doing a great job.
Oh, glad to hear that. Thank you.